911, what's your emergency?
There's someone in my house.
Are you in a safe place?
Bedroom, door's locked.
Stay on the line. Help is on the way.
Oh my god, he's here.
Ma'am? Ma'am, are you still with me? Talk to me.
I've worked as a 911 operator for just over 6 years, and in that time, I've taken thousands of calls. Most of them are predictable: medical emergencies, domestic arguments, car accidents. You learn how to stay calm, how to guide people through stressful situations, how to focus on the information you need. But every once in a while, you get a call that feels different from the very beginning. The kind where something just doesn't sit right. This call came in just after 1:20 in the morning. The line connected, and for the first few seconds, there was only silence. That's not unusual. Sometimes people panic or they don't know what to say. So I started the call like I always do. 911, what's your emergency? There was a pause. Then I heard a woman's voice, quiet, almost whispering. I think someone is in my house. Her voice wasn't panicked. That's what stood out immediately. She sounded controlled, too controlled. I asked for her address. She gave it to me right away, a small residential area just outside town. I started typing the information and flagged units to respond. Are you alone in the house? I asked. Yes. Another pause. Then she added something. I was. That's when the tone of the call changed. I asked her where she was inside the house. In the bedroom. Are you able to lock the door? It's locked. Good. Stay there with me, okay? She didn't respond right away. Then she said something quietly. I heard someone downstairs. I asked her what exactly she heard. Walking. Like footsteps? Yes. Do you hear anything right now? There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, very slow. Then she whispered, I think they're still here. At that point, I confirmed officers were already on the way. The nearest unit was about 4 minutes out. Stay on the line with me, I said. Don't leave the room. Don't make any noise. She didn't answer. I thought for a second maybe the call dropped. Then I heard something. A sound in the background. Faint. A creak, like a floorboard shifting. I immediately asked, what was that? She whispered, they're on the stairs. At that point, I focused completely on the call. Everything else in the room around me disappeared. All I could hear was her breathing and the faint sounds coming from her house. Okay, listen to me, I said. Stay as quiet as you can. Help is almost there. There was a pause. Then I heard something else through the phone. Another sound. Closer this time. A slow, deliberate step. Then another. The kind of sound you hear when someone is trying not to be heard. I asked her, can you see your bedroom door? Yes. Keep your eyes on it. Tell me if anything changes. Another long pause. Then she whispered something that made the situation worse. The handle just moved. I felt my stomach tighten. Did it open? No. Okay, that's good. The door is locked. Then she said, it stopped. For a few seconds, there was nothing. No movement. No sound. Then suddenly, a loud bang against the door. She gasped. I heard something scrape against the wood, like someone pressing against it from the other side. Stay calm, I said. Officers are almost there. I checked the dispatch screen. Units were less than a minute away. Listen to me, I said. Do not open that door. I'm not, she whispered. Then her voice changed. Slightly. I think they're leaving. What do you hear? Nothing. Silence. Completely silent. That kind of silence that feels wrong. Stay on the line, I said. Do not leave the room until officers tell you it's safe. She didn't respond. Then, after a few seconds, she said, I think I'm going to check. No, I said immediately. Stay where you are. But I could hear movement. Bed sheets shifting. Her footsteps. Please don't open the door, I said. She didn't answer. Then I heard the sound of the door unlocking. A soft click, then slowly opening. The audio changed immediately. The room sound widened. You could hear more space, hallway acoustics. I called her name, no response. Then I heard something else. Not her. Another voice. Very quiet. Close to the phone. I couldn't make out the words. Just a low whisper. Then the line went completely silent. The call didn't disconnect. It stayed open, but there was no sound anymore. Just dead air. At that exact moment, officers arrived on scene. I stayed on the line while they entered the house. We could hear them over radio. Front door open. That detail wasn't reported by the caller. They moved inside. House is clear. Then, checking upstairs. There was a pause. Then one of the officers said something that made the entire call stick with me. Bedroom door open. A few seconds later, no one inside. They searched the entire house. Every room, every closet. Every window was locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. No sign of the caller. No sign of anyone else. The only thing they found was her phone, lying on the bedroom floor, still connected to the 911 call. And the part that still bothers me is something they confirmed later. The system logs showed the call never disconnected. And for nearly 2 minutes after the officers entered the house, the line was still active, recording. And during that time, there was still audio. Very faint, almost impossible to hear. But when they enhanced it later, they confirmed something. 2 voices, not one. And neither of them belonged to the woman who made the call.
I've been working as a 911 dispatcher for a little over 8 years, and one of the first things you learn is how to recognize panic. Most callers don't hide it well. You hear it immediately in their voice, shaking, breathing too fast, talking over themselves. But sometimes, the most unsettling calls are the ones where the caller sounds calm. Too calm. This call came in just before 2 a.m. The line connected, and I answered like always. 911, what's your emergency? For a few seconds, there was no response. Then I heard a man's voice, quiet, controlled. I need help. I asked for his location. He gave me an address on the edge of town. A small residential street, single-family homes, nothing unusual. What's happening? I asked. There was a pause. Then he said, I think someone is in my house. His tone didn't change, still calm, almost flat. I began dispatching officers while continuing the call. Are you inside right now? Yes. Where are you in the house? In the kitchen. Are you alone? Another pause. Then, I was. That phrase again. I asked if he could leave the house. No. Why not? I don't want them to hear me. That was the first moment something felt off. I asked him what he had heard. Footsteps, he said. Upstairs. Did you see anyone? No. Do you have any weapons in the house? Yes. What kind? There was a longer pause this time. Then he said, a knife. That wasn't unusual. People grab whatever they can to feel safe. Okay, I said. Stay where you are. Officers are on the way. Then I heard something through the phone. A sound in the background. Faint. A creak. Then another. Like someone stepping carefully across a floor. Do you hear that? He asked. Yes, I said. Stay calm. Do not confront them. He didn't respond. Then he whispered, "They're moving." I asked where. "Upstairs, but slower now." The way he described it was precise. Too precise. Like he was tracking the sound carefully. I checked the dispatch. Units were about 5 minutes out. "Can you get somewhere safe?" I asked. "I am safe." "Where are you exactly?" "In the kitchen." That didn't feel safe. "Is there a room you can lock yourself in?" "No." "Why not?" "They'll hear the door." That's when something else happened. The sound upstairs stopped. Completely. Silence. I asked him, "Do you still hear anything?" "No." Then, after a few seconds, he said, "I think they know I'm here." At that point, the call had shifted from concerning to serious. "Listen to me," I said. "Officers are on the way. Do not move. Do not make any noise." He didn't respond right away. Then he said something that made the situation worse. "They're not upstairs anymore." I felt that immediate drop in my stomach. "Where are they now?" I asked. There was a pause. Then he whispered, "Closer." I leaned forward in my chair, focusing completely on the audio. "Can you hear anything right now?" There was silence. Then, a faint sound. Not upstairs, not distant, closer to the phone. A soft step, then another, slow, deliberate. I said, "Stay on the line with me. Do not hang up." He replied quietly, "I won't." Then something changed. His breathing. It slowed, became steady. Too steady, like he wasn't afraid anymore. Then he said, "I think they're in the hallway." "Do not leave the kitchen," I said. But I could already hear movement. His footsteps, soft, careful. "Where are you going?" I asked. No answer. Then I heard something else. A sound like a door slightly opening. Then he whispered, "I can see them." My entire focus locked on the call. "What do you see?" Silence. Then, "They're just standing there." "Can you describe them?" No response. "Are they armed?" Another pause. Then, "They're not moving." The way he said it, it didn't sound like fear. It sounded like observation, like he was studying something. "Go back to the kitchen," I said. "Now!" But he didn't. Instead, his voice dropped even lower. "They're looking at me." At that exact moment, I heard something else through the line. Another sound, very faint. Another voice. Not his. Too low to understand, but clearly there. "Sir?" I said firmly. "Who else is there with you?" He didn't answer. Then, slowly, almost calmly, he said, "I didn't think they'd find me." That sentence didn't fit the situation at all. "What do you mean?" I asked. No answer. Then I heard footsteps again, but this time, more than one. Several, moving at once, closer to the phone. Then he said something that completely changed the call. "They're not in my house." A pause. "They're in yours, too." The line went silent for a second. Then, suddenly, a loud crashing sound, like something hitting the floor. The phone shifted. Audio distorted. I called out to him. No response. Just movement. Then the line went quiet again. Officers arrived less than a minute later. They entered the house, cleared the kitchen. Nothing. Living room. Nothing. Upstairs. Nothing. No sign of forced entry. No broken windows. No one inside. No intruder. But they did find him. In the hallway. Lying on the floor. Unconscious but alive. The knife still in his hand. There were no signs of a struggle. No injuries consistent with an attack. No evidence of anyone else being there. But what made the call stick with me
wasn't what officers found. It was what they didn't. The house security system showed no doors or windows had been opened that night. No one had entered, no one had left. And yet, the audio from the call was reviewed later, enhanced, and confirmed something that still doesn't make sense. During the final moments of the call, there were multiple sets of footsteps. Not one, not two, more. And at least one additional voice speaking at the same time as him right before the line went quiet. And the part that still bothers me most is something I didn't notice until after the call was over. When I replayed the recording, right after he said, "They're in yours too," there was a sound, very faint, almost impossible to hear, but once you notice it, you can't ignore it. Another breath, not from his phone, not from his house, from my headset, right behind me.
I've worked as a 911 dispatcher long enough to understand that timing matters. Every call has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even the worst calls eventually resolve in some way. Officers arrive, the situation stabilizes, the line disconnects. But there was one call that didn't follow that pattern. And it's the only one I've ever had that felt like it never really ended. It started at 2:47 a.m. The line came in like any other. 911, what's your emergency? At first, there was nothing, no voice, just faint background noise. That's not unusual. Sometimes people hesitate, sometimes they're scared. So I repeated, 911, what's your emergency? This time I heard something, breathing, very close to the phone, slow, controlled, not panicked, not rushed, just steady. Hello? I said. Can you hear me? There was a long pause, then a voice, very quiet. I need help. It was a woman. Her tone was strange, not emotional, not frantic, just flat, almost like she was trying to stay calm on purpose. Okay, I said. What's going on? Another pause. Then she said, I think someone is in my house. I immediately started logging the call and dispatching units. Can you tell me your address? She gave it to me clearly. A residential neighborhood, quiet area, no prior incidents flagged. Where are you in the house? In the bedroom. Are you alone? A pause. Then, I thought I was. That sentence again. It's something you start to notice after doing this job long enough. It always means the same thing. Something has changed. Do you hear anything right now? I asked. Silence. Then she whispered, I hear breathing. I froze for half a second. Breathing? Yes. From where? Another pause. Then, not mine. That's when I leaned forward and focused completely on the call. Okay, I said calmly. Listen to me. Stay where you are. Do not leave the room. I won't, she said. Then she added, I think they're close. I asked her if her door was locked. Yes. Good. Keep it that way. There was a long pause. Then I heard something through the line. A faint sound. A shift. Like fabric moving. Then a very soft noise. Closer than before. I asked her, what was that? She didn't answer. Then she whispered, they're in the room. At that moment, everything slowed down. Listen to me, I said firmly. Stay calm. Do not move. Officers are on the way. I checked the system. Units were about 4 minutes out. Where exactly are they? I asked. Her voice dropped even lower. I can't see them. That didn't make sense. Can you hear them? Yes. What do you hear? Another pause. Then she said, breathing. The same word again, but this time it sounded closer, more immediate. I asked, "Is there anywhere you can hide?" "I already am." "Where?" Silence. Then, "In the closet." That was the first new piece of information. "Okay," I said, "stay there. Do not come out." Then something changed. Her breathing. It became uneven, shallow, like she was trying not to make noise. Then I heard something else, a second sound through the phone. Another breath. Not hers, not synced with her breathing. A different rhythm. I felt my grip tighten on the desk. "Is there someone else in the room?" I asked. She didn't respond. Then slowly she whispered, "They're right outside the closet." I could hear it now, too. Faint, but there. A presence, close to the phone. I said, "Stay completely still." She didn't answer. Then, a soft creak, the kind of sound a closet door makes when pressure is applied to it from the outside. My heart rate picked up. "Do not open the door," I said. "I'm not," she whispered. Then, "It's moving." The door creaked again, slowly, like someone was testing it. "Officers are almost there," I said. "Just hold on." Then something happened that I've never experienced before on a call. The audio shifted. Not cut, not dropped. Shifted, like the phone had moved slightly or changed position. Then I heard something. A whisper. Not from her. Right next to the phone. So close it almost sounded like it was inside my headset. I couldn't make out the words, just a low voice. Then, silence. Complete silence. For about 3 seconds. Then suddenly, the woman gasped. A loud sound. Movement. The phone dropped. I shouted into the line, "Hello? Hello?" No response. Just distant noise. Then the line went quiet again. But it didn't disconnect. I stayed on the call while officers arrived. They entered the house, cleared the downstairs. Nothing. Moved upstairs. Nothing. Then they checked the bedroom. Room is empty. Then, closet door open. A pause. Then, no one inside. At that point, I thought the call had to be a prank or something we were missing. But then one of the officers said, "Phone is here." They found it on the bedroom floor, still connected to me, still transmitting. But there was no one else in the house, no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no open doors, nothing. The entire house was sealed, and yet she was gone. The call was logged, investigated. Nothing came of it. No missing person report that matched, no follow-up, no explanation. But that's not what stayed with me. What stayed with me happened later, when the call recording was reviewed, enhanced and analyzed, because they found something in the audio, something I didn't notice during the call. Right before the line went silent, there was a second voice, clearer than before, close to the phone, close enough that it should have been right next to her. And what it said didn't match the situation at all. The voice said, "Wrong house." A pause. Then, "Stay quiet." And then, breathing. 2 separate breathing patterns. One was hers. The other was still there, even after she was gone.